Hi, and welcome to Disctv, the weekly show that brings you the world of disc golf. I'm Brian Sullivan. This weekend, we're in the playground of the West, Lake Tahoe, for the Tahoe Daily Tribune Disc Golf Tournament. Over 100 disc golf pros are here to pit their skills not only against each other, but against two very difficult courses. So don't go anywhere, because Disctv is on the air right now. Also this week, improve your driving. Dave Feldberg takes us step by step through advanced driving techniques. Plus, an after-the-round conversation with 1999 world champ Ron Russell. This is Disctv.
Good. Pause.
Disctv is brought to you in part by the Professional Disc Golf Association, guiding disc golf into the future. DiscLife.com, the world leader in disc golf. And by Gateway Golf Discs, for those who want to throw and win. Welcome to Disctv's coverage of the 2002 Tahoe Daily Tribune Disc Golf Tournament here in South Lake Tahoe, California. I'm Brian Sullivan, and with me is Tournament Director Dan Thrift. Dan, thanks for having us.
Thank you very much. Thanks for being here. We appreciate it.
Give us a little bit of history behind the event.
Well, Bijou Community Park started with a city employee, Russ Thaw, who gathered some Tribune ink barrels, painted them blue, put some chains on them, and used old stop sign posts. And put 9 baskets out here on the front. The following years we had an event called a Soup Series, which was a locals tournament raising money, and the first year it took us all year long, once a month. We averaged about 20 players a month, and that bought the first official basket out here. The following year we did the same thing, had another soup, bought another basket, and then after that the community really came in behind us and supported us through the Kiwanis and the Seroptimists, or just a few of the clubs that have helped us out quite a bit.
So the Bijou Park actually got its start with a barrel of printer's ink.
Exactly, exactly.
Great.
And now we have the Tribune as our title sponsor. They've been that for the last 5 years. In the last 3 years we've had our Super Tour event here.
All right, Dan, give us an idea of the challenges that the players are going to be facing on these courses this weekend. Let's start with Bijou.
Bijou, it's a great course. It's a long course. We have a lot of trees here. Not a lot of elevation changes, pretty mild. I think the challenges here are obviously the trees. And the wind conditions can kick up a little bit in the afternoon here also.
Okay, that's Bijou. Now we go across from California to Nevada for the Zephyr course.
Right. That's a lot more challenging course. I would say that's more of an advanced course for some players. We have a lot of elevation changes. We have 7 or 8 holes, I believe, that have lake views of Lake Tahoe that is just fantastic. It's definitely a more challenging course, and there's a lot of manzanita bushes. You'd be surprised at the difference between the two courses. There's a lot of rocks out there also where we don't have here.
I'm looking forward to learning what a manzanita bush is, but some of the top pros from across the country are here. Dan, who have you got your eye on to possibly win this one?
Well, we've got Ken Climo here and Ron Russell, who won our tournament last year, the Tahoe Daily Tribune 2001 Disc Golf Tournament. We also have Cameron Todd, and Leslie Herndon is here also.
It's going to be a lot of action this weekend, so Dan, we'll talk to you again real soon. Meanwhile, let's get you right out to the action. Lake Tahoe. You'll find it at the northern borders of California and Nevada, tucked in between the Carson Range and the Sierra Nevada mountains. The lake surface rests at 6,200 feet above sea level and provides a breathtaking setting for disc golf. The players saw plenty of sights as they were shuttled to courses on both the California and Nevada sides of the lake. But the highlight of the weekend was the ferry ride across the 22 miles of beautiful Lake Tahoe. This, however, was the easy part of the tournament. The format this weekend is 3 rounds of play on 2 courses, Bijou and Zephyr Cove. Each course is packed with disc-eating 100-foot high pine trees, and the fairways are often razor thin at best. It would take patience, skill, and more than a little luck to find a way under the 219 par strokes, because an ugly 5 or 6 could be lurking on any hole. After the regulation 3 rounds will be a final line for the top women, Masters, and Open players. In the women's division, Patricia Jacob, better known as Trixie, was pulling some tricks out of her bag to keep pace with the leader group. Trixie smoked the rest of the field and many of the men in the second round, carding a 1 over par 64. From across the big pond, Britain's Ruth Steele showed the women she was no slouch and found the chains time and time again, along with enough birdies to keep her in the hunt. And when the big putt was called for, Ruth Steele had an answer ready to go. Colorado's Nadine Larkin is all too familiar with throwing golf discs at higher altitudes, and she used that experience to keep her drives within putting range and clear of any bogey potential. U.S. women's disc golf champ Leslie Herndon was also tearing it up in Tahoe, coming on strong in the first round with a 4-stroke lead that she would later give back to Larkin. Long putts kept Herndon near the top of the leaderboard throughout the first 3 rounds and brought her a cushy 5-stroke lead going into the women's final 9 holes. She kept her game on track and her mental game intact. At the finish, it was another National Tour win for Alabama's Leslie Herndon. Now to the Masters. This is an age-based division where only those players between the ages of 40 and 49 can compete. But to see them throw, you might sometimes think they're still in their early 20s. California's Scott Riley was a top favorite going in, being already familiar with the terrain and ready to work his aerial magic in the thin mountain air. Now keep in mind that discs tend to be more overstable at higher elevations, so a right-handed player throwing a flat shot will soon see the disc working its way to the left. Such is disc golf in the mountains. Rob Harding is another California master who showed how to get it done at Lake Tahoe and steered clear of enough trees to keep him among the leaders. But giving Harding trouble from the skies was a guy who goes by Pterodactyl, also known as Kenny Lee. Lee was taming the Sierra Nevadas with the cool determination of a champion and maintained a grueling pace for anyone who tried to make a move to the top card. Despite Lee's efforts, no one could touch Johnny the Technician Lissaman, who jumped out with an early lead and kept the others at bay long enough to notch another National Tour victory. Finally, some highlights from the Open division, where it was a virtual who's who of professional disc golf. There were no favorites here, as the field was packed with enough talent to make it anyone's weekend. Ron Russell was back from an injury and shooting well, while Johnny's twin brother Jeff Lissaman was feeling at home in the California air. 10-time world champ Ken Climo was far away from his home in Florida, but was throwing as confidently as ever. North Carolina's Brian Schweberger has quickly become a familiar face to Disctv, and no surprise to find him shooting well in Tahoe. Then there was the dark horse. Mike Randolph spends most of his free time playing ultimate frisbee, and had thrown only 5 rounds of disc golf so far this year. Yet few were surprised to find Randolph among the leaders. Even without practice, Randolph proved once again that he is one of the world's best. And finally, there was Jim Oates of Sacramento. You'll normally find Oates with the Masters players, but here in his own backyard, Oates was ready for anyone. Once he took the lead in round 1, Oates never left the leader card. It's time for Disc Physics 101. This is the part of the show where we talk with some of the top pros and ask them to help us improve our disc golf game. This week, it's the Winning Crew's Dave Feldberg. Dave, this is actually Disc Physics 201, isn't it?
Yes, we're going to be covering advanced driving technique. And with me today, we have Cam Roundhorse from Minnesota, left-hander, and we have our right-hander, Avery Jenkins from Ohio.
So Dave, what are the things we need to think about when we're advanced driving?
Well, the first thing to think about is safety. These discs are sharp. You want to use a sharp edge disc, similar to this one. And you have to make sure there's no one around that you can hit with the Frisbee. If you're going to throw a Frisbee and it gets near somebody, that's when we say 4. It's a golfing term named 4.
So make sure that if someone is out there, they know you're coming and you're yelling 4 if you're anywhere near them.
Yes, these things do hurt, and you don't know where they can go. They could get out of your control. They're very fast and they go very far, as you will see.
Okay, Dave, so we have our sharp edge driver. What do we need to think about to really get that extended distance?
The 3 things, the basics. It's footwork, body control, and arm speed. Let's start with the arm speed. Arm speed is created by not reaching back as far as you can and throwing as hard as you can. It's as you come across your chest, you bend your elbow, and then that's when you give your full 110% and accelerate through the snap. That's how you get the extra pop. See, the mistake a lot of beginners make is they reach back as far as they can and throw as hard as they can, but when they get to here and the elbow's bent, their arm's already out of speed. So then it just goes straight up and left. You have to focus your acceleration to the contact point of the release. So then that will lead us to footwork. Footwork is very important because this, you throw on your feet. So footwork will get your body in a line so that you can use your muscles, the proper hip and shoulder muscles, to follow through and carry your body through it. That will lead us up to body control. Body control is the #1 thing. It's all timing. It's a very rhythmic thing. You have to have your arm, your feet, and your body working together. When one of them is out of whack, you won't have a good drive. So you want to, as you throw, you reach back. Then as your body comes forward, your arm comes through. Your foot pivots, you follow through. It's all a timing thing. Let's have Avery Jenkins come over and show us how it's done. We'll go through it in slow motion after he does it once. Okay, let's see that in slow motion again, Avery. Here's a disc. Okay, see what he did is he went with his right foot first. That shifted all his weight to the front. Then he put his left foot back. That twisted his hips. Now he will kind of hop as he follows through on his right foot, continuing the momentum, and then he'll pivot his foot and follow through. This is how the power is created. Let's see a lefty do it and see if it's any different for us. See how it's no different with the lefty? The lefty still, he leads with the opposite foot. Let's see it. Here's your disc. He leads with the opposite foot. He still puts his foot back, which is called the scissor step, and he follows through with all his momentum. It's the same for rights and lefts. All you have to do is get a timing. Most of distance is timing and practice. Go out to your open field and practice just throwing very hard and learn your timing. Once again, see how his arm comes back and then his foot goes through at the exact same time that his arm comes across. He kept it, and the other key is you must keep the arm across the chest. That'll keep the disc flat so that it doesn't go up and go left on you. Okay, now I want you guys to remember this because this is the important part. When he came through, it was all timing. This was the scissor step that got his hips, and then when he followed through, his arm started to bend. And then when he got to here, see how his elbow and his toe were pointing the same direction. He released, followed through, and his foot pivoted to the angle he was throwing, which was straight ahead. And then he followed through his momentum, so he didn't waste it. When I say waste the momentum, a lot of people that start disc golf for the first time, they get up there and they run, and they hop and they stop. Some of them may run from 15, 20 paces, but this isn't the key. Because what happens is they get there, they hop, and they stop and throw, it'll go straight up on them, right? The best thing to do is start with one step and just learn to carry the momentum through. If you're not carrying the momentum, you're wasting all the running.
Dave, let me ask you a question here. You've been talking a lot about your throwing arm and your wrist and what you're doing with that. What are you doing with your non-throwing arm?
This is also a very important thing. Let me see the disc, Amy. A lot of the people that start to throw, they kind of do it like a Frisbee and they bring it across with both hands and then they throw it. This is not good because it doesn't allow your other shoulder to get back far enough and rotate through it. So, what most top pros, as you will see Avery Jenkins demonstrate here, they drop their left arm. This means their left arm drops as they reach back, and then as you follow through, the left arm comes up and keeps their balance. Let's see it, Avery. See how his left arm followed through and kept his balance? This is where you could do with your left arm. Always drop it.
So what's going to happen then if I take my non-throwing arm and I actually have it going around, let's say up here?
You'll be tending to throw it more turned over, and it'll cause you to, as you follow through, instead of being smooth and landing, it'll cause you to kind of fall out of it. Now this is very bad on the back and the knee. One of the reasons we're teaching you this advanced driving technique is for your safety also. Throwing this hard and running and hopping and throwing is not good for your body. If you want to learn to throw hard, you have to learn these 3 basic things so that you can use your muscles properly and throw without hurting yourself.
So Dave, I know we're going to want to see some more drives just in succession so people can actually study and study and study, but once again, let's run down the top things you need to think about if you're trying to throw for long distance and advanced.
I'd say the few of the major things are arm speed, which is acceleration at the end by bending the elbow, footwork, which is putting your left foot back to rotate your hips so that you can follow through, and body control, which is all the timing, getting the hand and the arm to work together. Some people would say you need to reach back farther. That's not necessarily true. It's all about the contact point.
It's tough to put all these things together. It takes a lot of time, practice, and patience. But if you spend enough time playing enough disc golf, you're gonna figure it out. Meantime, let's see some of the pros do what they do best. That is super cool. So Dave, is there any last points we need to make about advanced driving?
Well, the last thing I wanted to mention without getting into it too far, we're going to cover it in the future weeks, is the grip they're using. The grip they're using today is called a power grip. That's all 4 fingers tucked on the rim of the disc, and the fingernail actually presses down on the plate. That's called the power grip, and we'll continue with the grips in the future. There's many different. The last thing I want to tell you though, and I know I told you once before, is the safety. When you're out on the course and you're throwing these around, you're going to throw them farther than you've ever thrown them. So be careful and say 4. Until then, lucky flights.
It's time now for After the Round, when we sit down and spend a few minutes with a disc golf legend. This week, we're real pleased to have with us 1999 world champion Ron Russell. Ron, thanks for being here.
Thanks a lot, Brian.
Now, first of all, tell me a little bit about how you got started in the sport.
Well, a friend of mine that actually doesn't play anymore introduced me to the sport in early '92. It was like February of '92. And I picked up a Phantom Deuce. And the first shot I threw ever, I can remember, I threw a hyzer out, just like anybody else would, as a beginner, just hyzered right out to the left. So I ran over there and got my disc and ran back to the tee pad, and I said, okay, now I gotta throw it like this. It was like a 280-foot anhyzer with OB to the left and woods to the right treble, and I parked the hole, almost aced it.
Your second shot.
Yeah, it was like 300 feet or so. And that day I started throwing like 400 feet with the Phantom Deuce.
Come on, 400 feet.
Yeah.
Wow.
So a lot of people were pretty amazed around there, and they thought that I had a good talent, and I loved the sport. I was hooked immediately. So I just, I knew that's what I was going to do for a living that first few days, I think.
What is it about disc golf and throwing that disc that really, hooks into that part of your brain that says, wow, I got to do this again?
Yeah, it's just being able to whip, use your power to throw a Frisbee and watch it fly. Just people have always been enamored with, flight of anything, and be able to power a disc through the air and watch it fly right where you wanted it to go is just beautiful. And to be out in the woods and everything.
So what year was that you first started?
I started in '92, and then I took like a year and a half maybe off and went to work real hard because I wanted to go on tour. Nobody had been doing it yet. It's just something I just knew I loved and I wanted to do for a living.
That was, that was a very bold, I mean, it's bold to do now, but that was really bold then.
Exactly. My first Super Tour win in '95 was $300, no trophy.
Wow.
So it's come a long way. And boy, it was tight in them days. I had to do a lot of roof jobs on the side first year or two.
Were you actually working as you were out on tour?
Absolutely.
Stop and get some quick side work? And
Right.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow.
It was, but I loved it, and I gave up. I sold my house, my business, and everything to do it. I put everything, my heart and soul, into this game, and I just love it.
Now, from what I understand, at one point you decided it was time to leave Michigan, which was a disc golf hotspot, but you wanted to go down to Florida and actually learn from the best. You wanted to learn from Ken Climo.
When I started out, a friend of mine, Gail Vaughn from Michigan, I said to him, who's the best at this game? And he says, this guy, Ken Climo. I said, where does he live? He said, Clearwater, Florida. I said, that's where we're going. So we drove straight down there the first time, and he was the first person I seen when we rolled into the course.
I want everyone to understand that while Ron Russell is well known for being the 1999 world champion, what you're best known for, at least in my book, is you're the man who beat Ken Climo. After 9 straight years of winning the world championship, Ken Climo lost to this guy right here. How did you do it? Because he's told me he didn't lose, you beat him.
Thank you. But getting back to Ken, he is a phenomenal golfer. He was a big inspiration to me to be able to play on his level. He was playing golf in '94, '95 when I was just getting into it. Whereas other people weren't playing golf, you know what I'm saying? There's a difference between winging the frisbees around the course and playing golf. Mm-hmm. Ken was a true golfer, and I learned some good mental skills from him on the course.
Now let's talk a little bit about your current situation. You've been dealing with some back problems this year.
Right.
What happened and how have you been dealing with it?
Well, actually it was a year ago, a week after this tournament up in Washington State. It basically, I could feel before I got injured, I felt that there was something wrong. There was something. It took a long time to heal, so I ended up in South Florida again. I love Florida, so I ended up down there rehabbing and learned how to take care of my body. You know, eating right and stretching is a big part of it.
How much time do you spend before a tournament actually stretching out?
Every round now I'm very religious about stretching. I take 15 to 20 minutes stretching regimen that I'm on every time, and I can't tell you that is very important for, I don't care how old you are, it's going to prevent injuries if you learn how to stretch your body, because it's not ready to do all these things that we ask of it. It took a long time for me to realize that that was, you know, very important, but I think I clued in on it now.
Well, a lot of our viewers, Ron, are new players.
Right.
When you were a new player, for some reason, disc golf the throw actually just came naturally to you, but
right.
For a lot of people it doesn't. What advice
Right.
do you have for them?
To stick with it. I guess you just stick with it and throw a lot of discs. It's all about practice. Confidence comes directly from practice. And the more you throw discs, you watch what your discs do. That's the best advice I could give, is just throw a lot of plastic.
And if I were a new player and I was buying, say, 1 or 2 discs, is there something you could recommend?
Absolutely. A Stratus would be an excellent choice. It's a slight turnover disc. It's very user-friendly. It's got a smaller rim than most discs. It's easy to throw. It's not stable like the other, you know. So you want something understable at first, because all beginners will just do that hyzer.
You just won a huge event, the Kansas City Wide Open. We're going to see you down in Houston for the World Championships this year?
Absolutely. Looking forward to it. I hope to be healthy. I'm going to do everything I can to make that happen. And I'd like to defend. I haven't had a chance to defend yet, so I'm going to be there and be ready.
He's 1999 world champion Ron Russell, and we will be keeping our eye on him this year in Houston, Texas.
Thanks.
Although disc golf and the PDGA have been around for more than 25 years, we're really just now seeing the second generation coming out onto the disc golf courses, and we're going to talk with one of those right now. He's Miles Harding. He's here with his dad, Rob Harding. Now, how long have both of you guys been playing disc golf?
About 9 years, 10 years.
And how about you, Rob?
I started in 1990.
Okay, so you've been a few years more. Now, Miles, how old are you?
14.
So you've been playing since you were 4.
Yeah.
Now, was it really, was it a father-son thing when you first got started, or did you just see your dad out there throwing and you said, hey, take me along? How'd that,
Basically, I just started picking it up when I was a little kid, chucked it around the yard a little bit, and saw my dad started going along with that.
So, Rob, how did you get involved in disc golf?
Freestyle and ultimate. Coming through high school. In 1989, I was introduced to disc golf and played 40 days in a row.
You were immediately hooked.
Immediately.
It's the sport for a lot of families now, and if you're looking for more information on the game, there's a lot of places to go, including pdga.com, disclife.com, and discgolf.com as well.
Yes, discgolf.com with Marty Hapner is a way to get through to Santa Cruz Disc as well.
Grab your kids, grab your parents, grab some Frisbees, and hit the course.